everyone. Welcome to Essential Skills. My name is Melissa Daly, and thank you for watching today's program. We are going into our 14th week of lessons. Time is flying. It's a brand new year, 2010, and we have a lot of great information to share with you this year. This week we are going to talk about family matters. And what I mean by that is we're going to talk about how to set your home up to have the most successful experience for your children to be doing homework specifically. And we'll also watch a math DVD, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to set up your home to be successful for your children. Family matters, and we'll talk all about those different topics this week. And ultimately, our goal as adults, out there in the workforce is to be successful ourselves, right? We are learning new job skills. We're developing our professional skills such as reading and writing and our math. But ultimately, if you have kids in the home or you have friends or family members that have kids, you want to be successful and pass that success on to your children, right? So I'd like to spend this week talking about how to be successful at doing that. And even though you might not be really familiar with the topics that are being taught at your children's school, for example, algebra or geometry, if you're not good at those subjects, you can still set your home up to make sure that your child devotes that time and that quality of their evening to do the homework. And we'll talk a lot about that in a little while. So I'm really excited about today's show. So if you're watching for the first time, or you'd like to be able to explain what this show is to other people when you see them and you want to convince them to register to be in this class, I'd like to tell you that this is a distance learning program. So we combine watching TV with an online web page, which I'll talk to you about as a registered student. You have access to my web page, and there you can download assignments, you can write on blogs, you can see the links, and we can do a lot of networking and sharing that way. This program is sponsored by the San Juan Unified School District. So if you are in the district, you are eligible to register for this course. My show comes on Mondays and Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. That's the new show. And we have repeat shows in the evenings, so check your local TV listings, and on Sunday mornings. About 11 to 12 is the Monday show, and 12 to 1 is the Wednesday show, I believe. I think that might have changed, but I think that's the new schedule. And you see here that this is a paperless class. If I'm harassing Mary, I say, Mary, you look so good, let me touch you. That's not right, Same-sex harassment is the same as male-female. So be careful, be professional. And as I mentioned before, reprisal and retaliation is almost like getting revenge, or it's when people or supervisors might fire you, or they might deny you some benefit because you complained or because you said no. That is illegal. Some examples: if you get demoted, which means you have a job that's below the job that you have now for no reason, that is an example. We have a promotion when you get a job above, and a demotion is if you're a supervisor and then they tell you, hey, go clean the bathrooms, you're now the janitor. That's a demotion. Suspension is when they tell you to leave work for a while with no pay, or if they reduce your pay. Those are some examples of reprisal or retaliation, like getting revenge because you complained about the sexual harassment or because you said no when someone asked you to do something of a sexual nature with them. It's unfair treatment, it is not legal, and it really creates a bad environment at work. Can you imagine if you walk in and everybody knows that you complained and now you have a really bad job? What are you supposed to do? You have rights. That is not legal. And we talked about this. The forms of sexual harassment are verbal, nonverbal, and then the physical contact is assault. You cannot touch people in an unwelcome way at work. Once you touch them or push them or hug on them, it's going to be reported as assault. Be careful. Verbal, some more examples of verbal sexual harassment are comments, inappropriate comments about a person's clothing or the way that they're dressed. So this can even happen at school if a teacher or another person to be registered. And that internet access can be anywhere. It can be from the computer at a library or from your friend's home or Not at work. You don't do that at work. That's personal use. But if you do have access to the internet at least twice a week, then please come and join the class. Also, you must be 18 or older, and this is an adult basic education class. So if English is not your first language, this is more of an advanced class for you. We are going to be using the real world English that you would use in a work environment, in a professional setting, and also to prepare you if you'd like to continue your education by taking the GED test or taking any other types of classes in an adult capacity. So Essential Skills is this class from the distance learning program. This class teaches lots of different skills. My first and foremost objective for Essential Skills is to teach you how to develop yourself in a professional way. Workplace skills, such as interviewing techniques, interviewing etiquette, what to do, what to wear, what to say, how to carry yourself. Interviewing skills, and also that includes things such as writing the resumes, cover letters, memos, following up with thank you notes. How to communicate with your bosses and supervisors, how to communicate with customers, how to communicate with your coworkers. We also talk a lot about grammar in a business setting to help you develop your writing skills. We have a math DVD every show. It's either an algebra lesson or multiplication, division, anything that you would use in an adult setting. We also do a lot of reading and writing, and the academic skills are all included in that, reading and writing and math. And then I added here, success at home. Success on the job is just one part of your life. You have a whole other life where the computer, they can look and see exactly what emails you have sent, what emails you have received, what you've opened, what websites you have been to. Be very careful. I know people who have been fired for going to websites at work that were not appropriate. I mean, I know someone who has been working at this company for 20 years. He was the top. And after everybody left, he would visit inappropriate websites. They found out. He's fired. He doesn't have a job, and it's going to be very difficult for him to be hired at another company because a lot of people know about this story. Don't take any chances. This is not a joke. This is legal, and this is your professional career. Don't take any chances. Nonverbal. If you stare at people, this is a form of nonverbal sexual harassment. I know in some cultures it is acceptable to stare at people if you think that they are attractive. This is not acceptable in American culture, in the workplace, to stare at people. I have had a lot of experiences in other countries where they stare and stare and stare, and they know they're staring, and as long as they don't say anything, apparently they think that's okay. Do not stare at people up and down if they're attractive to you at work. Don't do it. I just can't tell you how offensive that is. And we, as American women, are very sensitive to that. And men too. You don't do that. You look at a person and, don't do that. Make little faces. You don't put pictures up on the wall or on your computer, any kind of sexual pictures or jokes, including cartoons. Even if it's a cartoon, a drawing, that is not acceptable. That is considered nonverbal sexual harassment. You don't touch yourself. You don't dress provocatively at work. You don't do that. Always be professional. And as I mentioned, even if when you're walking down the hallway and you see someone coming that you like, blocking their way, like not letting them pass, that's a form of nonverbal sexual harassment. And I have sent these slides to you in the workbook so that you can refer to them if you're at the workplace and if you have any questions about this. Now, I am not a lawyer. I do not work at a legal office. If you have questions that I cannot answer, I will tell you to go to some different websites that I have, and you can find your answers or go to a lawyer. But this is the law right now, and I have sent these slides to you. So if it's a little bit too much right now, or later on in the week, or once you get a job, and maybe there's someone at work that's bothering you in a sexual way, and you want to know, hey, is that appropriate? Probably not, but you will always have these slides for your reference in your workbook. And then again, I cannot stress to you how important it is. The physical contact is inappropriate, bumping into people at work, trying to massage them, hug on them, unwanted sexual advances, inappropriate contact with another person is considered assault. It is a criminal act. Using force, physical intimidation is not acceptable. Very serious. Even same sex, like, right, well, there was a picture of a girl touching another girl on the shoulders here, you know, something like that. Now that's a hairdresser. My hairdresser doesn't touch me like that. I mean, when I get up and then if you know, I might hug her, but she doesn't just rub on me like that. That's not appropriate. We don't do that in the workplace. So just be very careful. If you're just not sure, then don't do it. If there's any doubt in your mind, is this appropriate? It's probably not. So just don't do it. Or, you know, sometimes I've had to ask people, you know, for a long time in the military, one of my military jobs was I was a physical training leader. And I helped people lose weight who were on a program. They were overweight, and I was in charge of the program, and I would have to put a tape measure around them. I'd have to touch them to put the tape measure on. I would exercise with them, and I would have to meet with them, and we'd have to discuss their body. And there were times, you know, I would say, okay, I don't want to be inappropriate, but I want to say that I need to touch your stomach here. I have to explain it, you know. Writing and really taking a lot of time, even if it's just writing a grocery list down, especially for my husband because he can't read my writing, so I have to really be careful and take my time, and I think, oh, I am developing my writing skill. And then also typing emails. You know, there's so many different ways that we communicate, right? You can speak, you can do nonverbal, you know, just with your hands or your facial expressions. You know, you can communicate via email, writing, sending cards. So writing skills, I'm asking you, what have you been doing to develop your writing skills? So think about that. The first time, and he had these really nice calves. I mean, they were just so muscular. And I said, oh, you have such nice calves. They're so muscular. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. That was not appropriate. I'm really sorry. And he said, no, it's okay. So sometimes you have to say, you know, is this appropriate? And in that situation, it was okay. But if I didn't know him, and I just saw him, and we were in a work environment, and I said, hey, nice legs, it would be very different. But he was in my program. I had known him for 2 years, and for the first time, I saw him running, you know, and saw his muscle. So you just have to be careful. Not everything is black and white. But thankfully, I said, is this appropriate? He said, it's okay. And there were other people with me that could say, okay, he said it was appropriate. So he cannot come back later and say, she said something that, you know, upset me. So, you know, there are whole classes that go on and on about sexual harassment. And I'll tell you, at work now, if you work at a company where there are more than 5 supervisors, they must go through training every 2 years, 2 hours of training. And they get this type of training from human resources, or sometimes they bring in lawyers to discuss these things, and they talk about real-world situations. So in this little short time that I have, I really want you to just be aware of the legal definitions. What are some examples of sexual harassment, the verbal, the nonverbal, the physical assault, and what you can do about it. What happens if you're at work and something like this happens to you, or to your family member, or to your children? You need to report it. You must document what happened. You have rights. And even if you're not sure, you still need to write it down. Because if you don't, then you never have proof that it happened, right? Or maybe someone at work is doing it to other people, and they're too afraid to say anything. You must report the incident to the administrator or your supervisor. Tell someone. You have to. Engage witnesses. Did anyone else see it? Did anyone else hear it? Is there a history of this person or these people doing offensive things at work before you were there or when you weren't there? And fully cooperate. People are trying to help you, and you know, as I said, not everything is black and white. Maybe you overhear 2 people talking and they're husband and wife. You don't know. Maybe what they're saying is not appropriate, but you know, you just never know. Maybe they're touching each other because someone lost their father or someone died in their family and they're giving them a hug. And you're watching it. You don't know what's going on. So document what happened, report it, and if anyone else is around, ask them if they have seen or heard the same thing, and cooperate with people that ask you questions. And we want to prevent this kind of thing, right? We don't want this sexual harassment to go on in our workplaces, our schools, our classrooms. So to prevent and correct sexual harassment, be aware of the office policies, the state laws, the federal laws. And usually, every company, every business, they're required to have a sexual harassment policy. And if they don't, ask them, what is your policy on sexual harassment? Do you have anything? I mean, if you want, you can ask. Human resources, usually that's the place to go. And encourage the communication of your subordinates. If you think that, if you're a supervisor or you see something going on at work between a male or a female, or male, female, it doesn't matter, and you think it's not appropriate, or you think that someone is becoming nervous when they get to work, they don't want to be around that person, encourage the communication. You don't want that to happen to you, so why would you want that to happen to anyone else at work? You all are a team. And you can subscribe to this webpage, and every week they're going to send you a newsletter with all kinds of topics. Everything from the different types of cartoons that are popular now in high school, to different types of trends, to, of course, helping with homework, to different types of things to watch out for, such as, the H1N1 virus and things like that. So it's a really great website. So today's lesson is very much mostly based from the material from connectwithkids.com. So, if your kids are struggling with homework, how much should you help them? What do you think? I mean, many parents do help their kids. I mean, kids will say, hey, if the problem is hard, you just ask your parents for help and they might help you. And a lot of kids do. They say, hey, I can take the easy way out. This show is 9A, Sexual Harassment in the Workplace. So what you just saw was about 33 minutes of the lesson that I taught last year, and it's the same information as this year. All of those definitions and those policies and those examples still apply today. I hope that you learned something, or if you're a returning student, you had some time to review and brush up on your memory of what sexual harassment is, some definitions. Some of the key things that I want you to remember is that there is such a thing as nonverbal sexual harassment, and those are some things that take place in the workplace, such as cartoons or pictures or gestures or staring at someone. And the verbal type of sexual harassment is when you actually speak to someone, you tell jokes that are very inappropriate or offensive. And also, there's a difference between sexual harassment and sexual assault. Assault happens when you put your hands on someone. Even it could be like an inappropriate massage or hugging or groping them in the hallway. That constitutes as an assault, and the authorities, the police, can get involved in that type of case. So just be very, very careful. If you are in a situation where you think that you're being sexually harassed at work, you need to document what happened, report the incident to your supervisor. If there was anybody else around that could have seen this incident take place, you want to engage the witnesses and fully cooperate with the investigation. With that, I want to say that sexual harassment is not harassment when it happens just one time. It really has to be a repeated situation that creates a very hostile environment. And a lot of sexual harassment cases have been lost because the sexual harassment was just one time, one person saying to one other person, hey, I think that you're really beautiful and I want to do X, Y, and Z with you. Just that one time in itself does not constitute sexual harassment in the workplace. You have to say to that person, or have someone say to that person, that is not appropriate at the workplace. This is our policy on sexual harassment. If it continues, then you have the potential of being fired or fined or something like that. So just be sure that don't be too sensitive and walk around, trying to report people when it happens just once. But just be aware of that policy. Some things are black and white when it comes to sexual harassment, and some things are not. And when it comes to it happening one time, that is something that does not hold as much weight as if it happens repeatedly over the course of weeks or months or years. And you want to be aware of the office policies, the state and federal laws. Encourage your subordinates and people in your workplace to communicate if they're uncomfortable or they don't feel that it's a professional environment. And stay current in the sexual harassment training and the changes to the policies in your workplace. And if you don't know what the policy is, then definitely ask. So in the video, I told you we didn't have time to watch an algebra video with Jenna Roberts, but I'm able to show you just about 10 minutes of an Algebra Today, episode number 30. Jenna is going to go over some definitions, and she's at the PowerPoint, actually in this very same spot that I'm in just a few years ago. So it's not going to be that long, but I hope that you will enjoy it. It's some vocabulary about algebra with some really great examples, and she does such a great job of explaining them. So for the last part of the show today, I'd like to close with watching Algebra Today. So enjoy, and I'll see you back in a few minutes.
The Earth, every point on the top of the Earth is exactly the same distance from the center point. Now that's a generalization, because in truth, because the Earth spins and because of centrifugal force, the Earth isn't an exact sphere, but it's a pretty close example of one. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's review a little bit of surface area. Then we're going to go into volume, which I also think is very interesting, and I want to talk about it. And then, like I said, if we have time, we're going to get to spheres. We're going to talk about surface area of spheres. And then we're going to talk about volume of spheres. And then we're going to put it all together, and you're going to see how neat and cool it is that all this stuff fits together like that. I just love math. Okay, let's start with some review here. Let's start by identifying some types of solids. A polyhedron is a solid with all flat surfaces that enclose a single region of space. A face is a flat surface of a polyhedron, and the edge is the line segment where the faces intersect. And I just realized that I didn't pull up that website for you, so just really quickly, I'm going to sketch a cube. Now don't laugh, because you guys know how well I draw, and it's even worse with this little pen thing. But we're going to pretend that that's a cube, okay? Just pretend, humor me for a moment. That's a cube. And this is a solid which means that it occurs in 3 dimensions. And it has a face. These are the faces. These flat sides are faces. And these lines here where the flat faces intersect, those are the
teacher, and discuss how to help that student out. And if you do help your child too much, you might stall the development of good study habits. Good study habits are the foundation of good academic progress. You have to have, and we know that from our own experience. It's not fun always to do homework, and it's not the thing that we always want to do, but you need to develop those good study habits so that you can develop those good work habits and lay down the foundation for that responsibility and that obligation, to something that's bigger than ourselves, to be more successful, right? Successful meaning, doing homework or being successful at school, our jobs, it kind of all builds on itself. And having that foundation of good study habits, you really want to have that with your child at home. And also, another reason is that you want your child to communicate with their teacher if they have homework issues. So the children need to be personally involved in their own homework and their own progress, so they can say, "Teacher, I didn't understand question number 4 on this math problem, and could you explain it to me?" But if you just do it, then the child might not know that they can go to the teacher if they have a problem. So you really do want that child to have a relationship with the teacher so they can communicate back and forth about the academic progress. So these are some of the reasons why, of course, you want to be helpful, but helping all the time, no matter what, even if the problem is kind of difficult or too difficult, just have to be careful of that. That is according to the experts at connectwithkids.com. So, let's see, what else can we do to talk about that? Parents should have a relationship with the teacher as well. Parents should talk to the teacher to determine how involved the parents need to be on certain subjects and assignments. Now, you never know what happens in the classroom, right? You only really know what the teacher tells you after the fact and what your child is telling you. What if the teacher says, okay, children, I want you to take this homework home and I want you to do it by yourself. Just try it by yourself, right? Only this assignment or this problem. And whoever gets the problem right, you know, you can go back the next day and maybe they win a prize or something, right? So you really need to be involved with the teacher to determine how involved you need to be. And one of the ways that I saw is one of the shows that I watch once in a while is Super Nanny. You know that show, and the nanny comes in and the house is crazy with crazy kids and they're all out of control, and she sets some rules. She sets good habits, time management skills, going to bed at a certain hour, doing things at a certain time, being respectful at home. And it was interesting because I watched a show recently about how one of the boys in the house always wanted his parents to do the homework because he wanted to play. He was just wild and crazy. And so the parents would do the work for him. And so Super Nanny said, give me all of your books, like here's your math notebook, here's your English notebook, here's your science notebook. And you need to put an initial, like say his name was Billy. A B on the things that Billy can do by himself, and M for the things that he wants help from his mom, and a D for the things he needs help with from his dad, so that he could see and everybody could see how involved they needed to be on certain subjects. And it was a really interesting way to prioritize it. And also for Billy to know, I can do this all by myself and then I'll get to this. Then he can prioritize the things he needs help with. Maybe he would ask first. And then also it helps develop that good relationship between Billy and the parents when it comes to homework. It's interesting. A good way to do that. As far as
of a box, think of a cereal box. Actually, a cereal box is a good example, because if you open the ends of a cereal box, you can actually tilt the cereal box so that you have a three-dimensional figure with parallel congruent faces. It's not an exact box, but it has parallel congruent faces. Those faces are your bases. A soda can. A soda can is a polyhedron with parallel congruent bases. The circles are the bases. It doesn't matter what side it's resting on, the circles are the bases. The way I like to remind people of that is, what do you sit on? You sit on your behind, your backside, your bottom, your rump. There are lots of names for it. When you sleep, you're resting on a different part of your body, but your bottom is still your bottom. It's the same with prisms. The base is the polyhedron, the congruent polyhedron. I can't get those words out today. The bases are the congruent polyhedra that exist in parallel planes. So whether it's sitting upright like this or laying down like this, the bases are those congruent polyhedron. Can't say that enough. You'll see what I'm talking about when we do some more volume. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
And you know what's important too is if the child knows that the parents care, they have a good reason to complete assignments and turn them in on time. If you had that parent that's always going, where's your homework? Let's do it. Let's sit down and do it. Right? It's so important. Then that child will probably respond more than if the parent says, homework, it's not important. Do whenever you want. Right? So there is a lot that you can do to show that you value education in the home. And so I'm going to show you 6 ways, 6 steps to improve your child's homework experience. And this is from the Department of Education. Number 1, set a regular time. And when I think about these 6 steps, I relate them to my own study habits and the things that I do, because I have military professional education that I must complete, and I have my guitar that I'm practicing, and I have other things that I do. And these are very good steps, not only for your children, but for you too. When you go home at the end of the day from working, or you're trying to develop your own skill, set some good, or revisit some good foundations for yourself. Think about how it can relate to you and to your family as well. Number 1, set a regular time. Pick a time that works well for you and your
for you. A cone is a solid with a circular base and a vertex. And a sphere is a set of points in space that are a given distance from a given point. I love spheres. I just think they're so interesting to think about. It's really, really interesting. If you ever have nothing better to do, look up circles and spheres on the internet and see how many interesting bits of information there are about it. I think it's really interesting how that all works together. So then we go on to nets and surface area. Once we identified the polyhedron, we talked about how polyhedra are made. They are made up of what we call nets, which is a pattern for a geometric solid. And here we have a net for a square pyramid. And here we have a net for a cylinder. And you can see that a cylinder has two circular bases, and then there's this rectangle here that wraps these bases and makes that cylinder. Here we have a square base, and then we have these triangles that meet up at the top to make the pyramid. Surface area is the sum of the areas of each face of a solid. So for this triangular pyramid, we have all these little markings, and you may remember that these tick marks mean that sides are congruent. So here we have a triangle with a base of 10 and a height of 10 because it's a square pyramid and all sides are 10, and this tick mark means that this is congruent to this, so 10 times 10 is 100, and the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So instead of being 100, that would be 50, which means that all the rest of these are 50. And then this middle figure here is 10 times 10, which is 100. And then you add that all up and you get 300 units squared. We're talking about area here, so we're measuring in square units.
That was Algebra Today, episode number 30. If you would like to see more of that episode and all of Jenna's DVDs, Algebra Today and Algebra Made Easy, you can find those DVDs at Sunrise Tech Center. So give us a call and we'll help you out. Come visit us. We're happy to help you out. So I hope that you learned something. It's so nice sometimes not to have to do math problems, but just know what the definitions are. And a lot of you who've been in my class before and this year as well say that you really would like help just learning those definitions, especially if English is not your first language and you do know math. It's nice to know how it's explained in English. So I hope that you enjoyed today's show, Sexual Harassment in the Workplace. Join me for the next show, which will be 9B, and I'm going to talk about workplace romance, a very different type of situation in the workplace, when you actually do want to go out with someone and say yes to their advances. What are the policies and how do you handle yourself in that situation? Well, there are risks and there are benefits of workplace romance, and we'll talk about that on the next show. Until then, I'd like to leave you with a quote of the day. A very famous author, Anna Quindlen, and she says, if your success is not on your own terms, if it looks good to the world but does not feel good in your heart, it is not success at all. And we think about that, what is the definition of success? It could be different things for different people for different cultures. Success is not money and fame. Sometimes it's just doing the things that you want to do, managing your own time, having family and friends, and being healthy. So think about that. You choose what your success is. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks is successful, and let it feel good in your heart. So have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time on Essential Skills. Hi everyone and welcome to Essential Skills. My name is Melissa Daly and thank you for watching me today. Today we are in our 8th week of lessons and we are going to talk about how to write a powerful resume. This is a continuation of 8A, how to write a powerful resume, and this is 8B. Today we are going to continue talking about all of those great things that you can do to really make your resume stand out from the others. And we'll also talk about some grammar, have a little grammar lesson, and then we'll also watch some algebra with Jenna Roberts. So I'm really looking forward to getting started today. I'm going to review a little bit about what we talked about in the last lesson about resume writing, just to refresh your memory, and then we'll get into some other types of tips that can help you out, and I'll show you a website as well that I think is just great for starting to write a resume. And also, as I mentioned, we'll be doing some grammar as well. So let's go ahead and get started. This is an essential skills class, which means that it's an adult basic education class brought to you by San Juan Unified School District. This is a distance learning program, so you are able to study from the comfort of your own home. And this class comes on Monday and Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and it also has a repeat performance every now and then. I think you just have to check your local listings, and I think for sure on Sundays we repeat as well. And this class is paperless, which means that I will not be sending out any papers or contact sheets or workbooks this year. But we will have a website. We do have a website, and if you are a registered student in
Number 1, you can involve them in an after-school program. 2, have them work at the kitchen table. 3, have them study right before bedtime. Or 4, have them study at the library. If they just cannot study at home for whatever reason, what else can you do? Well, the answers are number 1 and number 4. Involve them in an after-school program so they can take care of their homework and their needs there. And you can also have them study at the library. Even if it's just once a week going to the library, it's so fun. Library is just a wonderful place. So now we're going to watch Tools for Success Math 1 DVD with Susan Baggett. I'll try to give you as much time as possible, maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so. And I hope that you have your paper and your pencils ready. And it's a great review, and a lot of you have asked for this multiplication, and Susan Baggett is just one of the best teachers that I've ever seen on DVD, so I'm really looking forward to watching this with you. So enjoy Tools for Success Math 1 DVD, and I'll see you back in a few minutes.
As you can see, I have a problem up here already. We're just going to be using
for a job interview, resume writing, applications, and we also talk a lot about professional development in terms of grammar and math, reading, writing, and other types of academic skills that you can use in the workplace. And so today we're going to continue our lesson, How to Write a Powerful Resume. This is lesson 8B. So you're going to watch the show today and learn how to prepare a work resume that stands out from the rest. Our grammar lesson will be talking about the differences between either, or, and neither, nor. We use those words, either, or, and neither, nor, to group two different types of things, and I'll explain how to use it and what's the reasoning for doing that, and also give you a little bit of a test, a little quiz, I should say, as well. And then we're going to watch Algebra Today, lesson number 6. And Algebra Today, those DVDs are available at Sunrise Tech Center in our DVD library. So if a lot of you have been calling our office and asking for algebra class, to be registered in an algebra class. But what we can offer you is, on my show, I can show you some of the algebra DVDs that are available at Sunrise Tech Center. So I'm trying my best to meet your needs, at the same time still have the class. Also talk about workplace skills, interviewing techniques, job development, and also the academic skills as well. So if you need anything else, just give me a call. I'm here for you. And I'm ready to get started with the lesson. So we talked about in 8A how to build a powerful resume. If you're looking for a job, you really do need a resume. Not only do you need it when you hand it over to the employer, but it's very helpful for you to document all of your work history. It's all of your work history on 1 or 2 pages, and you really want to make sure that resume is perfect. It advertises what you're about. It's like your little brochure, and it's meant to show what a great catch you are to those hiring people, those hiring managers. And I asked you this question last class, and now I just want to have a little reminder here. How long does a hiring manager look over each resume that they receive? They have a lot of resumes that come in every single day, so how much time do they give per resume? Is it 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, or 10 seconds? Do you remember? The answer is 10 seconds. 10 seconds goes by like beep. You can barely even warm up a piece of bread in the microwave in 10 seconds. And you have these hiring managers that are going to decide if you are going to get that job interview based on how you look on paper. Not only what you've done in your work history, but how the resume is formatted. Is it easy to read? Is it organized effectively? Is it free of errors? Is it sending a powerful message with every single sentence that you have on that resume? 10 seconds is it. Now, here's another question for you. We talked about how you really need to use action words, those buzzwords, and I have a list of those words on our website. And I'm going to show you some phrases, and I'm going to ask you which of the phrases is best for a resume to describe your work experience and your accomplishments. I'm going to give you 4 options. Number 1, I tried to think of ways to solve sales problems. 2, developed a plan to double sales in 2008. And these are the extra details, by the way, of your work experience, okay? Number 3, thought about ways to double sales in 2008. Or 4, realized our sales needed to improve. I'll give you just a few seconds to read these over again. Which one of these phrases is best for a resume to describe the work experience and the accomplishments, the results that you got from that job? These options. Tried to think of ways, developed a plan, thought about ways, realized our sales needed to improve. We talked about those action words that you want to start each sentence with a very...
8 and 1 is 9. 9,712. Okay, that's basic addition. Let's take a look at some subtraction, and we're going to do the same thing. With subtracting, we've got 457, and we're going to take away, or minus, 326. Again, we're going to start with a very simple one. We start at the right with the ones. 7 minus 6 is 1. 5 take away 2 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. Very easy. 131. 131. We didn't have to do anything. But let's take a look at the next one. Let's write up another problem. If we have 815 and we are subtracting 346, what do we do here? We've got 6, and we're going to take that away from 5. But we can't. 5 minus 6, well, we could get into minus numbers, but if we are just working with this, 815 minus 346, what can we do? We can borrow from that 10. We're going to leave a 0 up there. And then we are going to borrow and put a 15 minus 6 is 9. Now, 0 minus 4, again, we can't take 4 away from 0. We have to borrow from that 8, which leaves us 7. That gives us a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6, and 7 minus 3 is 4. So we have 469 as our answer, borrowing from the other digits. Let's take a look at one that might be even just a little bit more challenging for you, but it's using that same concept. What if we had a number 6,000 and we are subtracting 345? What are we going to do here? We can't take 5 away from 0. We can't even borrow from that. We have to move all the way over to a number we can borrow from and leave a 5 there. That would make this a 10. We're going to have to borrow from that and leave a 9. That makes that a 10. Borrow again and leave a 9. Now we've got 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 4 is 5. 9 minus 3 is 6. And 5 minus nothing is 5. So our answer is 5,655. Leave that up there just for a moment. Just notice how you've got to go all the way over here to borrow. Okay, we've done our basic adding and subtracting. Now let's just add one more little thing into that before we move on to multiplication and division. Let's take a look at adding and subtracting money. A little bit later, we're going to be looking at decimals. But right now, let's just take a look at, we're using decimals, But we all deal with money every day. What if we had $112.03 and we added $435.98? Now, what do we do here? We do the same thing as if we're just adding regular numbers, but we're going to be very careful and notice that on this side we're dealing with cents, here we're dealing with dollars, and if you know dealing with money, 100 cents or 100 pennies makes up $1. So as soon as we have gotten to our 100 cents over here, it's going to carry over onto our whole dollar side. But we add it up just the way we do regular numbers. 3 and 8 is what? 11. Carry that 1. 1 and 9 is 10. So we're going to carry that over into our dollar section. 1 and 2 is 3, and 5 is 8. 1 and 3 is 4. 4 and 1 is 5. So our answer here is $548.01. Just remembering, you keep that, whenever we're adding or subtracting with decimals, you want to keep your decimal point in a straight line going down, or as straight as you can get it. I'm not very good about keeping them real straight on the board. Okay, we've looked at adding. Let's subtract with decimals, and it's the same basic idea. We've got our dollars, $338. And how many cents? 90.
Computers, if you are very good at Microsoft Office, that includes PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, you would list those keywords so that hiring managers know exactly what your capabilities are. And you want to make sure that your resume is on a standard piece of 8.5 by 11-inch paper. Good quality, not the cheapest stuff you can see through. And we had also talked about keeping that resume to 1 page, but 2 pages maximum. As we get older and we have more job experiences, it's easy to have a resume that could be maybe 6 pages long, if you want to include all of your volunteer work, all the types of training that you've been to, including workshops or seminars. But it's best to limit your resume to the specific type of job that you want, and you bring in that job experience or those transferable skills. Remember, we talked a lot about the skills that you bring to a job, your adaptive skills, your personal traits, your characteristics. We talked about your job-specific skills that you could use on a job, and the next job, they relate. And transferable skills. Those are the types of skills that you can do no matter what the job is. For example, if you are very good at numbers and keeping a tight budget and knowing exactly what's coming in, what's going out, you could do that type of job whether you're working for a computer company or for a doctor's office. So we talked about your skills, but also in terms of a resume, you want to really group together your skills. And you might have a resume for the veterinarian's assistant. You might have a resume for being a sales representative at a clothing company. So just make sure that your resume really sticks to what the job is in maximum 2 pages. And most importantly, you really want to proofread that resume for spelling errors, grammatical mistakes, punctuation, format, and then factual errors. And make sure that everything is very consistent in your format. Like, you don't want to have something underlined. And for example, if you started off your resume by underlining your duty title, and then the next job you didn't underline it, the third time you did, it just looks very unfinished and not very professional. So make sure that it looks absolutely flawless. All right, and then on that resume itself, the nuts and bolts of what a resume should look like. You're going to have a heading at the top of the resume telling the employers where they can reach you, including your name, your address, your phone numbers, including your cell phone, and your email address, and making sure that email address is a professional email address. Usually a part of your first and last name with a couple of numbers maybe, but nothing silly like, I love bubblegum at Yahoo or something like that. You want it to be professional.
And you might have an email address that you use just for your friends, but when it comes to work, you want to make sure that that email name is very professional. Job objective. I told you in the last lesson, if you don't ask for a specific job, the company won't choose you because they won't really know where to put you. So you kind of have to tell the company who you are and what you're looking for them to really figure out if you would be a good fit for that company. So in a job objective, this is still a review, you want to make sure that you very clearly state what you're looking for and why you think you might be of value. And education. You want to include any apprenticeships, on-the-job training, workshops, seminars, military training, self-study, high school, vocational school, or colleges that you attended, and you want it to be the most recent first on one line, and that was a review from the last lesson. So really include that education. If you have been, even if you just took one class.
Add it up, 8. Let's see if we come out with the same answer. There it is, because we carry that one. 2104, and look at here. It's the same answer that we got up there. We're just showing you that multiplication saves you all of these steps. You can just do it very simply that way, by working through the problem. Okay, let's go on to something that's just a little bit more challenging. What if we have
military, casual labor, volunteer work, any type of situation where you are working for someone to achieve a result, and it could be a job where you got paid or not. So it could even be volunteer work. Volunteerism is very important, and a lot of hiring managers really like that because you go above and beyond. No one is making you go to these places and work hard and give your time to the community. It's very important, and it really does reflect well. So don't discount that. If you have done volunteer work, include it. And your accomplishments. We had a writing assignment from lesson 6A where you took a job description and then you wrote down the examples of how you did a job similar to that and how you supported that exercise by writing the details, like I increased sales by 100%, or I was able to finish reading my reports in 2 days instead of 10, something like that. And as I mentioned in lesson 6A, that lesson really set you up for writing a beautiful resume full of really good information with lots of action words. So now it's your turn to write your own resume. This is your writing assignment. Take your time on it. Do it seriously. Take it seriously. Do a very good professional job. Use the tips and advice from lessons 8A and 8B. And use Microsoft Word or a similar word computer program to write your resume. I want this to look really professional, and I will do my best to help you out. I will proofread it, I'll send it back to you and give you all the advice I can. So email me that resume. Here's my email address. Call me if you have questions. You have my number as a registered student. I'll review, proofread, and send back your resume. All right, and some of you before maybe have done this in a class if you are a returning student, but in a year maybe some things have changed. Maybe you've gained some more job experience.
Either put a 0 there or just remember to move it over one space. Then 3 times 5 is 15. Notice now we have to move over even another place, and if it helps you, put your little pretend zeros there. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 7 is 21, 22. And 3 times 2 is 6, 7, 8. So let's see, now what we've got to do is add up all of these numbers. And you're hoping that you've got it all in a row. 5 and zeros would be 5. 7 and 5 is 12, carry that 1. 1 and 4 is 5. And 5 is 10, and 7 is 17. Notice I had a little trick there. I had 1 and 4 is 5. 5 and 7, I know is 12, but it's really easy. If you've got another 5, you know that's going to be 10, and then add that 7, 17. And then we've got 2, 4, 6, and 1 is 7. And we've got our 8. So our
with the elderly and quilts for children with cancer. How wonderful is that? And it's just one little sentence, and it highlights how Rhonda really does give her time and energy and efforts to her community. Really nice. And then we have another one. This is a very standard type of format. Here's the heading, education, your experience, and skills and certifications down here. And you include any languages. It's very important. If you can speak fluent Spanish or Japanese, or Russian, Vietnamese, definitely include it. It's like you have a whole other life you can live in the job world if you can speak another language. And it's so important. It's definitely needed. Okay? And here are 3 ways.